Hello, everyone. Welcome to another 2023 FallDocs screening. My name is Armando Zamudio, and I am the Public Programs and Events Coordinator here at IDA. For our blind and low vision attendees, I'm going to identify myself. I am a light-skinned Mexican American with messy hair, wearing a green sweatshirt, glasses, in an office space. Thank you to our media sponsor, KCRW, for sponsoring our 2023 FallDocs. This evening, we'll have a conversation between filmmaker and film curator Natalie Gee and director Elahe Esmaili, producer and film protagonist Hossein Behboudi, whose film Can I Hug You premiered at Sheffield Doc Fest. To see more amazing films like this, please visit www.documentary.org/FallDocs. Now, before we get started, I would like to offer a brief land acknowledgement. We recognize the Gabrielino Tongva as the past, present, and future caretakers of the land, water, and cultural resources in the unceded territory of Los Angeles. Thank you so much to Rhonda for ASL interpreting this discussion. And with that, I will pass it on to Natalie. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Natalie Gee, and I'll be moderating our Q&A today. My pronouns are she, her. For our low vision and blind attendees, I'm wearing a pale blue shirt. I have glasses and blonde hair with white skin, and behind me is a large bookcase.
Hello, I'm Elahe. I'm the writer and director of the film Can I Hug You? I have a very short, very black hair, red glasses, a nice top, pajama down here, but you're not gonna see it. And red cherry earrings. And next to me is my husband, who's the protagonist and the producer of the film. Over to you, Hossein.
Hey, I'm Hossein. I'm a 30-year-old man, a brown man with black hair, wearing gray glasses with a white shirt. Behind us is a white wall with two small pictures from Iranian rural women.
Thank you both to you for being here and sharing this really personal story. I wanted to start by asking you, Hossein, why was it important for you to make your story into a film, and why was now the right time to do so?
I think it for a very long time. I have been looking for a film in this topic, a film about like child abuse or with the male victims and from our region with a person of color like in the character. And I was looking for this for a long time, but I never could have find a film like this. And so when my therapist told me that you need to talk with your parents and talk with them and open up for them, I thought that if I'm going to talk with my parents, I'm going to share it with the world. I'm going to make it into a film and share it with the world. And I had like many reasons to make it into a film. I think I grew up on that like very restricted city with all those gender segregations and human rights violations. And all the time I was wondering why we have all these like weird and no sense rules in our society. And I was asking about this from my parents and my teachers, and everybody was telling me that we need all these rules for sexual safety. And I wanted to say that but our society is not safe. But I couldn't say that. I wasn't brave enough to say that, and I was looking for a film to show to them as a sample. And and additionally, I think I have seen all those great movements, conversation, and films about sexual violence, and I like, or movements like Me Too, and I have seen that how much they were useful for and are helping the victims.
Right.
I wanted to engage on those conversation and talks, but many times I have received this feedback that you don't understand, and you are a man, you don't understand, and that was very hard for me, and I wanted to get somehow engaged and get those support, but I felt much more alone when I heard those feedbacks, and that was so hard for me. And again, I was looking for I wanted to say that, well, I guess I can understand a little bit as well, but again, I wasn't brave to share that, and I was looking for a film to show it as a sample, and so I decided to make it into a film for anyone who felt alone like me, or for anyone who wants to talk about this stuff or is not ready to share their experiences, and or challenging all the human rights cultures and all those stuff. Yes, sorry for the long answer, but
No, it really is interesting to hear that. Thank you. Elahe, I was wondering, you talk about the ideology of the extreme regime in Iran, and how did you want the film to push and break barriers?
So it's interesting because the regime thinks, and they've been advertising that there's no issue such as like sexual violence, or it never happens in our society because we have set these rules, we have our women covered, like fully covered, so men won't see them. So that's how we've tackled this issue, that it's always going on in like Western societies, but we don't have it. So just the ignorance and the fact that, I mean, obviously they know that this exists,
right?
But the fact that they've been trying to censor it, they've been trying to show the reality in a different way, like to fake something. And I think it, and like as Hossein mentioned, there's no film about this at least in Iran. Like there was a project for a few years that they're waiting for a license to be made, but they're not, no, you cannot touch on this topic because it doesn't exist, because we don't have male victims, we don't have, even like when it comes to women, they're like, okay, the ones who are victims of like rape, sexual violence, are the ones who don't put on proper hijab, or it's their own fault, you know, like that kind of thing was so you know, like disgusting in a way. And like I need to show this is not the case, and the fact that they're trying to lean on, like they're trying to rely on to say like as a fact that, okay, the more we cover our women, the more we'll achieve like a safe society. That is, sorry, bullshit.
Right.
At least we proved it wrong, like in the society. And yeah, I think that's how it's literally showing otherwise, you know.
Yeah. Well, there is a scene in the movie where a teacher is explaining that to his students, and I noticed it was all male students, and they laughed, and I kind of was thrown a little bit because I wasn't understanding quite like the reason behind the laugh, and I was wondering, are they are they challenging those ideals at such a young age, or was the laugh kind of an embarrassing laugh? And I was kind of curious about that, and that was a really interesting scene to include in the film.
Yeah, that's a kind of like joke between like the teen boys as well. But it's you know, like some of them know that it's not the truth, and some of them don't believe in that, but especially in that city, they are brainwashed. So like the regime and the people who support the regime, which are quite like a lot of them in that specific city, they try so hard to brainwash all the kids from the from they're so little to, you know, to just, they need those kinds of like mentality. They need some supporters basically. So they put so much effort to raise those kids as they want. And there are not so many kids who can challenge that when they're older, because that's how they were raised, and because this is what they were told all the time. That tiny laughter is just a joke between the teens, because it's like about something sexual, and it's you know, like they, I mean, this is their natural need. They just want to like explore a relationship with a girl. They want to see, like, you know, they want to everything, like it's common between all the teenagers around the world. Like, they want to explore these kind of things, but the fact that they are told that you cannot do that and women cannot do that, they just make joke from it, but it doesn't mean necessarily that they're challenging it, specifically that city. It's different in other cities in Iran. They're more liberal, because the families give them like a different perspective to the society, to like the gender kind of differences to their boys and their girls. But in that city, sadly, that's not the case.
And Hossein, you also mentioned this cliche that you were kind of brought up with in regards to a man must be strong. And how did you want to explore the toxic masculinity in your culture around that cliche of that expectation of men needing to always be strong?
I think it was important for me, or maybe for both of us, to cover that, because I think we don't talk enough about this, and sometimes we fail to remember that how much toxic masculinity is damaging for all of us, for both men and women. I mean, for both of us, for all of us, it was like very damaging. I mean, imagine like a world that men will not be accepted if they don't have like big muscles, if they don't show emotions, if they show emotions, or if they ask for help, or if they don't have, I don't know, enough money, or they are vulnerable, so they will not be accepted. So in such a world, women must be like Barbies and all the time serving men, like sexually, or hide the failures of men and this kind of stuff. So it seems nonsense, but the sad thing is that we are living such a society. We are living this world. And I mean, how many times you have heard that a person, a child or a woman is saying that I'm thankful to my father or to my husband that is protecting our family? Or how many times we have heard that someone is saying that I'm thankful to my husband or my father because they're taking a good care of us. So it still exists. I mean, it seems that it's nice to say to a man that you are protecting us, taking care of us, but by saying that, we are unconsciously making that man to think that I'm more stronger than a woman. And at the same time, we are making this stigma for the man to don't ask for help. And as the victim, it was very hard, I think, for me to deal with this stigma. There is a very big stigma for asking for like mental health. I think mental health helps, and everywhere it's like this, I guess. And I wanted to like challenge this, because it's very hard, and it's very like making life very hard for, especially me as a victim. It was very hard for me, and I wanted to challenge it.
Confess that is like, it might have like a big downside for men in, I think, all around the world and in our society as well. And there was like when we screened the film a few months ago, one of the audience made a comment which was really well said, and I was still like, okay, that was really good. And he was like, you thought it's you're gonna be interpreted as a weak man if you open up, make this film, but to me you're now a braver man. And
right, absolutely.
you know, yeah, I think that was a like very well said thing about how it's perceived now. Yeah, and how it should be, basically.
Yes. Well, one of the most powerful scenes in the film is the one with your parents over dinner. And I was interested to hear from you about what it was like asking them to be involved in the film, what your relationship is with them like now that the film is finished, and also just curious if they've seen the film and what their response to the film has been like.
I think it's very interesting that you ask about what is my relationship now with my parents, because most of the time people asking that how film helped myself.
Right.
But I think one of my biggest struggles, maybe it's the case for other victims as well, was to find out the answer about why my parents didn't do anything when I told them. And that was like making my relationship with them not ideal.
Sure.
And it's very interesting that you ask how that relationship is now. And I think we talk a lot about perhaps sexual abuse and sexual violence and this kind of stuff. And we say that it exists, it should be stopped. But I think we rarely educate ourselves about how to support the victims.
Right.
And I think that was especially we don't educate. Even most of the time we think that, okay, it's something exists, but it's happening to the others. It's not happening to us or my children. And especially we also hear that it's most of the time it's happening from your friends and your family. Yes. But we don't expect it from our own family, and we never educate ourselves about how to behave in these situations. And I guess that was the case for my parents as well. And I realized it through that conversation. Through that conversation, I realized that they just don't know what they have to do. And I also realized that simply it's not their fault that they are not educated about that, because of many reasons. I think Elahe kind of explored that in the film as well. They got married when they were very young, and we don't have proper we don't have proper education for this everywhere in the world, but then the situation in our region is different. And I think I realized that it's not their fault that they are not educated as well. And realization, I think, helped me a lot to establish a blameless connection with my parents. And I think, again, you showed it good in the film as well, in the last scene when I happily hug my father there.
Yes.
And I think that's our relationship now. And I hope this film can help that everybody starts educating themselves about how to support victims if that happens. And because sadly it's a very common issue. And it's happening a lot, and we need to be educated for that, I guess.
Yeah, it's great to hear, though, that you were able to find a way to heal a little bit by taking power yourself from their response and understanding from their perspective the reason why they're reacting the way they are.
Yeah, exactly. I think there were very important this understanding each other, and that conversation. I think that was like really important things for us to establish this like happiness after all these sad stories, or let's say.
Yeah. The film, it starts and ends with your wife, Elahe, and I just wondered, was that a intentional thing, or was it just sort of a natural thing, and you were editing it and then kind of surprised by the sort of bookends the film in a very beautiful and tender way.
Yeah, I think that came naturally because I wanted to start it with me because I wanted to narrate a story about, from outside. We didn't want him to be, the first, like the narrator of the film. So I wanted to start that and explain how I've been like exposed to these kinds of restriction because of that reason, and then how it's affecting my life in this like indirect way. And also about the ending, it was it's so interesting because about the last scene, I wasn't sure for a while how I'm gonna end the film because I wasn't sure how it's affected Hossein and how he's feeling now. So throughout the edit, I was like, with my editor, I was like, okay, hold on, I shot that scene for the end of the film, but I wasn't sure how the narration should complete,
Right.
should close that arc, close that kind of story. And after a while, like we talked about it, and it's like the recovery and that kind of, it takes time. It's not like a 1 day, 2 day thing. So after a few and after a few months, we had a conversation about how he feels now, how it's been changing things in him, and I thought about myself as well. And yeah, I tried to literally project that into the last, like that feeling into the last scene.
I think what is interesting for me on this aspect is that I think we talk, the film has like very different like aspects. It's about sexual abuse, it's about male victims, it's about education, it's about many things. But I think for me it was a love story between me and Elahe, I guess. And I think it wasn't the story of me. I think it was the story of Elahe as a brave woman that helped me a lot. I just really appreciated a lot that how much you stood against all those stigmas and stereotypes, and how much you empower both of us to do this and stand against all those stuff. I think it's more a story of a powerful woman that made our life at least a better life. And yeah, I think for me it's like it's very important that it starts with her, because she helped me a lot to do this, and it finishes with her because at the end it was she who was driving everything and made that life to a better place, I think.
Can I hug you?
It is a beautiful ending.
I try to not get that much in front of cameras anymore. It's hard sometimes.
No, that is beautiful. And I just wanted to end with hearing from you both about what you hope others will take away from the film in regards to finding resiliency and taking steps forwards in recovery in whatever way that means for people.
I think the most important thing is to support each other when we are in these kinds of situations. For me, like I witnessed him gaining the confidence throughout, like from before when I was the only audience, and when he shared his story for the first time to only me, and he was so like fragile, he wasn't sure, he didn't know if he's doing the right thing. But when he saw my reaction to him opening up to me, and then the next step, I was like, okay, I need to plan how we're gonna share this story to wider audience. So the next step, we shared it with two of our closest friends, with saying that, okay, we're gonna make this film, this is the story, how do you feel? And then he saw their reaction and he gained more confidence He gained more
Oh.
confidence now. And then the next step was the crew of the film, like my cinematographer and the sound recorder, when he shared the story with them as well. So they were like the fourth and fifth audiences of this story. And I could see how he's becoming more confident and how he's realizing that he shouldn't have blamed himself, or he shouldn't blame himself, at least now. He has to stop that. And I think that reaction, that support means a lot to the like sexual assault victims. I have experienced the same thing, and like that hug, when I hug him in the film, it's my natural. I didn't think that it's gonna be in the film. I didn't think that that's gonna be my response to like that kind of stories, but I did that naturally. And then I didn't talk about that with my editor, and I let her review the rushes herself. And I was like, I wanted to see if she picks up on that, if she realizes how important those tiny things, just a hug, those moments are. And in the first like assembly that she sent me, there were 2 hugs in it, and I was like, okay, great. So it's something that other people also picks up on it, and it's a common feeling, I think, amongst like the human beings. And it's so important how we support them, and how we give them, you know, like the opportunity to open up, to heal themselves. That is basically the most important thing for me. Like there are other things as well, like education is so important. It plays a key role in even this supporting process. Like people need to learn how to support, you know. So yeah, I think those are my main goals. What about you, if you want to add anything?
I think, yeah, I told the film is about a lot of things, but I guess I'm hesitant to share, like, to prescribe the takeaway for the film. It's a documentary. It's about real events, and real events has the power that every person can take their own unique takeaway based on their background and based on their like life. And
the most important thing is that people would feel that they're not alone, and it's not their fault, you know, basically. If that happened to them as a kid, or even sometimes when they're adults, it's not their fault. And yeah.
Well, I think the film captures that beautifully, and I'm really thankful I got the time to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for moderating this session. Thank you.
My pleasure.